Hello, and welcome back to Laura's Plans. I'm Laura, and today I'm going to do a flip through of the setup that I will start using in October, and hopefully that will carry me through the rest of quarter 4 for 2021. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. The notebooks that I'm going to be using are being housed in my Chic Sparrow Moreland e.2. This was a gift from my husband, and I adore it. And I've moved out of it a couple of times, and I keep moving back in. So obviously, he picked something I knew and he knew I would love. So when I open my notebook, there's a few new things that I've added to the setup. The first being this Chic Sparrow dashboard. It's actually not new. This is shopped from my stash. It's a wide size dashboard, and I'm actually using it to do a couple of different things. First, I have this standard T and kind of pocket and, just holder system in here, as well as being able to use it to create more of a stable writing surface, so that when I am jumping into my sidekick notebooks, as I'm calling them, which there are 2 of them, I can open them up and not have to remove a notebook in order to write. So this dashboard is being used for that purpose. Not only that, but I really like the idea of being able to put in this absolutely wonderful paper that I love. It's been in here for 2+ years, however long I've had this dashboard, but when I was cleaning out my stash, I found 2 extra pieces, and so I used it for decoration on my sidekicks for this month, as well as I have this piece underneath. It's a cottony type of paper, and so it's that beautiful blend between a paper feel and almost a linen cotton feel. So you're going to see me pet this notebook quite a bit. But enough about the dashboard, enough about the paper. Let's go ahead and talk about my sidekicks. When I decided to go into a hardbound bullet journal style notebook, which I did choose the Bullet Journal Edition 2 by Leuchtturm, 1917, and I'm really happy that I did. The thing that really was, I'll be honest, the game changer as to why I chose it is this dot grid page. Because I was moving out of the Stalogy and into a notebook that I haven't used for quite a long time, having this grid cheat sheet here in the notebook was really kind of one of those elements that I thought that will make it easier with the change that I'm making. Now, the actual structure of my notebook and how I use it on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis is not going to change. The only thing that's changing is the book that it's being housed in. One thing that I did consciously think about, however, when I decided to move away from the Stalogy that has so much paper, was the fact that I didn't want to have to migrate over and over and over again on a 2 to 3 month basis. So that's where my sidekicks come in. This first sidekick is set up like a collection and future planning section of any given bullet journal. I have a vellum dashboard with the years listed that this should be able to cover, and an index already set up so that I am able to quickly begin using this. I also have 14 months worth of future planning, including the last 2 months of 2021 and the 12 months of 2022 listed out. And over the next few months, I will come in and start to begin to fill in the big events and birthdays. I listed the major ones, like for my immediate family, but I want to go in, fill in the days, and finish setting this up for 2022. After I get done with my monthly quick log, I do have an extra birthdays page that I set up in an Alistair method so that if there's any birthdays for coworkers or friends or things that maybe I don't have here, I can list them here if there's not enough room. I also did the same thing for big events because I don't know about you guys, but there's been times where I go to fill something in and the line is already full. So in order to combat that moving into 2022, I thought that this idea would work, and I can list the event, put the date under the appropriate month's initials. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully it helps me out. The next section truly is just allotted for the different collections and trackers that I use throughout the year. And these are more year-oriented trackers. I generally will, if it's a monthly type tracker, it will go in with the month in my bullet journal. If it's a yearly, I extracted it from here and put it into this resource notebook, sidekick, long-term collections. There's a ton of different names for them, but in my mind, sidekick is what came out. So the collection sidekick or long-term notebook is all set up and ready to go. I have plenty of blank pages that I can move into as the year progresses. And just to let you know, these are Moleskine Cahier dot grid notebooks. I had 4 left on my shelf, so I went ahead and allotted 2 of them to begin, to finish out the rest of 2021 and begin 2022 with. The second one really is just a blank notebook. I labeled it Ramblings of a Crazed Lolo Lady. This is kind of like my sticky notepad. This is my scratch pad. This is for those things that don't really need to be kept. I can jot them down in here and then cross them out once I migrate them either to a long-term collection area or into my bullet journal. The other thing is it does act very nicely to level set the notebook as I begin writing in it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the setup of the bullet journal. I will say I'm very surprised with how I chose to decorate. I thought for sure I would immediately grab my paints, but I am very, very busy at the moment, and so I haven't had the chance. I did pull out a self-portrait. It does have a big question mark on it because, I'll be honest, it's a change. I'm a little nervous, and although I love change, I think everyone understands when you change a notebook, it can make you a little nervous at times. I have my information page all set up and ready to go, and I've already started using my index page. Now, one of the things about this bullet journal addition to Leuchtturm is that the next pages after your index are actually set up for future logs. And because I wasn't going to use those, I went ahead and took some washi tape, covered up the titles, and turned them into the logs that I needed to finish out 2021. So I have my weekly cleaning, my adulting or when did I last, my household, and my personal products trackers. And those are set up so that I can finish out 2021 and have all that information with the months that are showing on those pages. My October setup actually turned out to be very minimal. I went with a black and white and gray silverish theme. I really thought that it would be bold and vibrant. But as I began looking through the papers and vellums and things that I had printed or purchased, I really was drawn to this leaf pattern that I made on Canva, printed out on vellum. And so I went ahead and ran with it. It's the one I kept coming back to. So in order to kind of bring this aesthetic all the way through, you'll see that I add in these hand-drawn leaves that mimic what you see on the vellum. Small little October calendar just to let me know what month it is. And when we turn the page, you'll see I've listed out areas to write my monthly goals, which I will do this weekend, and the title for the month. Everything that you see in this notebook was done with some very basic supplies. This is my unknown Tombow that I used as the gray highlights that you're seeing on any of the pages. This is my Graphic Gear 500 Pentel drafting pencil, and it's what I use to put in 99% of the lines that you see in this setup. I used my Pilot Vanishing Point for any of the writing that you see happening on the page. I also used my Zig Clean Color Dot Metallic Silver for accents and sparkles. And I also used my Zig Clean Color Metallic in the red to denote when I have bills due along my monthly page. Other than that, I have to say, some of my nervousness ended up abating as I started to jump in on the page. My month on 2 page calendar setup, which I absolutely adore, worked perfectly on these pages. I didn't have to adjust any of the spacing. I was able to put 4 days on the left, 3 days on the right, have plenty of room for my rolling task list, and to be honest, I had lots of room underneath in order to have a things to remember section. I did have just a simple header and a little bit of artwork in the corner, but overall, I'm really happy with the way that this month turned out. And I, as you can see, couldn't even wait to jump in and fill everything in. So you guys are seeing it after the pen instead of before. But October set up and ready to go. And so let's move on. My next page is actually a change from how I was setting it up in my Stalogy. And one of the reasons I did that was because, I'll be honest, I have had a very busy September. October is going to be just as busy with work, and around the middle of the month, I fell off on writing my 1 line a day for gratitude. So instead, I decided I'm going to write just a couple of words every day of something that I was grateful for, so that I kind of take that pressure off of myself. But my hope is to see all of these boxes full by the end of the month. My next page is actually a 2-page system, and they look very similar, but both of these have changed from my Stalogy. My habits that coincide with the goals that I set for my life are tracked on this page, and I did a rolling log style because I figured I could get everything in and get a good visual as the month goes on to which intentional habits I am really doing well on and which I'm not. My menu also changed, and it went from the month on 1 page with the 3x3 or 3x4 boxes, depending on how many weeks in the month were, to a rolling log style. And the reason I did that is simple. I cook dinner every single day, but lately I've been wanting to cook a brunch once or twice a weekend for my husband and I want to be able to plan those out and keep a log of what I'm making so that I'm not always making the exact same thing. So I went ahead and set this up more as a monthly running log so that I'd have more room to write, and I think it's going to work out. We'll see. I'll let you know at the end of the month. And then I head straight into my weekly layout. Now, I kind of had to laugh because I'm recording this now, but my bullet journal's been set up for a couple of days. And I noticed that the style that I went with was very similar to, I think it was Lindsay Scribbles, or was it Ellie? I don't remember. But it's very reminiscent of the Hobonichi. And the reason that I did that, the reason that I set this up to look similar to the Hobonichi is because I'm questioning whether or not I need this little planner moving into 2022. I showed you that I had a few faux Benicis that I bought off of AliExpress, and after really taking a good close look at them and thinking about it, I knew that they really weren't going to work for me. So I did gift them to someone who I think will use them and love them. She was very excited to get them. So they have found a new home, but I need to decide whether or not I want to purchase this little planner. And I have to tell you, I've absolutely adored having this in my purse. It makes life really easy. I will say there are definitely weeks that I use it more than others, or months that I use it more than others. And that's okay. This isn't a planner that I'm worried about whether or not every single day of the week is filled in, or if, there's some blank pages. It's going to happen. But I've used it fairly consistently for the whole year. So part of me is thinking maybe I want to purchase one in order to put in my purse, but I'm not sure. So what I did was I took the weekly dashboard that is basically my setup that I've used now for a couple of months in the planner. It includes my appointments, date-specific to-dos, notes for the day, my shopping list based on my meal plan. And I just grabbed this and my, because it always has my driver's license and debit cards and things in here. And I just take this, and that's what I take into the store with me. I keep it in my purse. I take it out once a week to reconcile things. And that's what I use this for. So the menu plan that goes on here is the meal plan. The menu that I record here is actually what we ate. So there is a difference, but I digress. So I set this weekly up to mimic this because I'm thinking what I'm doing in here, I can do here. And it really comes down to not this side, because these are things I always keep in my bullet journal. It's really that shopping list and like extra habits and tasks and things like that. Can I do all of that in here and just maybe take this notebook with me when I go shopping? I'm a little hesitant because of the size. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure that I want to lug this chunky monkey into the grocery store, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so the weekly is set up very minimalistically. It has, the days of the week, any appointments that I have for those days. These are date-specific tasks that have to happen on a personal level. I'll be able to record any specific notes to myself that I need to know about that day. And then I'm thinking that this will be the shopping list, and the general meal plan I may either put down here or maybe I'll put it in this column. I haven't really decided yet. But I went ahead and set up all of my weeks because over the last couple of months, I've gone back and forth between having my weeks and not having my weeks. And that's because every time I don't pre-populate them, I end up missing them and I go back and put them in. So I'm just going to accept the fact that I like having a weekly spread ready to go so that I can pre-plan in my bullet journal. After the weeks, I have one other additional spread that I included on the monthly, and that's because I want to participate in the monthly challenges that Cindy puts out for llama letters. I'm not really a hand lettering person, but I love to doodle. And I thought this would be really cool to kind of see in black and whites and pencils. So doing like pen and ink style sketching of whatever the doodle prompts are for October. I've gone ahead and set aside a column where I can write in all of the prompts as I do them. And I did add some extra boxes in here. This isn't just 31 boxes. There's a few extra, and I did that because I thought it would be really great to be able to add in a few and just do my own thing. So I did add in the doodles page, and then we have my fairly common aesthetic moment where I delineate where the month ends, the weeks end, and the days begin. Just a simple piece of vellum that I've had in my stash. I believe I bought this at Hobby Lobby. I'd say a year ago, but I do believe they still have this. It's kind of always there. Every time I go, it's always there. So it's kind of one of those. It's like this paper. They always have this paper. But just a simple quote from one of the books that my daughter and I read when she was younger together, and I've always remembered this quote. It's by Jacqueline Woodson, If You Come Softly. So it's a quote about October, and I thought it worked. So from there, we go straight into my dailies. And I did set up the first day that I will be using this, which is actually the 27th, because I'm only going to be taking one. Well, I'm lying. I'm taking two. I'm taking this and my work bullet journal with me, but I wanted to be able to do my personal intentions, personal to-dos, my reflections and thoughts about the day, and my basic daily tracking. So this is set up exactly like I would in the Stalogy. I'm not going to use this notebook any differently than I did the other. And I think that that's what's kind of funny, because I was actually nervous moving from the Stalogy to this hardbound notebook, because I thought, well, people aren't going to connect with me if I'm not in a Stalogy, or people aren't going to understand why I switched. And the reality is that really doesn't matter. How I plan and the things I do are going to stay the same. I may not tip in quite as much stuff. I don't know. I've never really tipped in I probably will. Let's be honest. I like to tip things in. So I'm going to keep tipping papers in and adding things in and doing my art. It's just going to be in a different notebook with a little heavier paper, and we'll see how it goes. But that's my month of October set up, and I'm sure someone's going to ask, so I'm going to explain it before I let you go. My tab system is pretty easy. I did have one of those broken metal page flags, and so I just glued it in right behind this craft paper that I used on my information page, and so that's never going to come out because it's glued on there. But my side tabs, you'll notice that I only have two down here at the bottom, and these are for my index and for my collections that are in this notebook. And I put them down here because generally when I clip in my pen won't smush those tabs. The only other place that I like to put tabs in a notebook is actually on the bottom. I can't see the tabs when they're hidden up here, and I feel like I'm always fiddling around and getting the wrong tab when it's at the top. I'm a bottom tab kind of person, and so I always tab my first one closest to the seam in the middle, the crease, is always the tab that takes me to my monthly. My second tab will always take me to my menu and habits trackers. My third tab always takes me to my weekly, and before the addition of the doodle page, my fourth tab would always take me to my dailies. But because I added in that doodle page, I did want to mark it, so my fourth tab is now my doodle page, and my fifth tab is now my dailies. And these tabs are just the Post-it brand tabs. I buy them at Walmart. And in fact, I probably need to pick up some more. I'm almost out. And when one falls off or I lose it, I just grab another one and stick it on the bottom. I don't generally keep a tab in place. I move it from month to month. So when I'm done with October, these tabs will move to the next month. If I need to reference something or want to know where it's at, I am an indexer, so I will put those in the index and I will come look for it here and then go to that exact page number. The reason I do that is I always keep everything in some sort of notebook, and I generally have anywhere from 1 to 2, possibly 3 pens clipped in. And when you have a lot of tabs on the side of your notebook, they can get really smushed, and that bothers me. But like you can see here, most of my pens are this size or shorter, and so I'm not going to destroy the tabs that I have here on the side of the biggest notebook. Now on my sidekicks, I do have smaller tabs on the side, but that's because they're a Cahier size, and I know that nothing's going to get in the way there. I do think I'm going to end up having to purchase some more pen loops. I'm actually out. My last pen loop that I had, actually didn't, I bought them from Amazon, but the sticky wasn't sticking, and it kept falling off. So I'm going to probably put one of them up here on my dashboard so that I have one more pen loop, because if you watched my last video, you know my rant on pen loops. I love a good pen loop, and I need more than one. So that's it. Now, the way I set up the notebook, I did put the hardcover into the secretarial pocket so that I can take it out if I want to. And I do have these on fairly loose strings of the TN so that I can kind of adjust them in order to move and write with ease. But that's it. That's my October setup. It's fairly neutral and fairly minimal. I figure as the days of October goes on, my days will become vibrant and full of color and doodles and just capturing those moments of daily life that I like to do. But otherwise, it's a new notebook, but it's the same planning style, and I'm really excited to move into it. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm going to hate it? Do you think I'm going to love it? I don't know. I have to say, so far, so good. It felt really natural and really comfortable. And I actually am quite happy with the very subtle and minimal look of it. And I really can't wait to see what the dailies look like by the end of October, because I really think that as the days goes on, these are going to be just vibrant pops of life. So with all of that said, I want to say thank you so much for listening to me and taking this tour of my notebook. I will be doing a bullet journal setup for October in my B6 Stalogy for work. So I didn't do one with you on this because it was a brand new notebook, and I was not going to go through that same experience that I did when I set up my B6 work. So next month, I'm going to attempt it. Hopefully it works, so we'll set up November together. But that's it. If you've made it this far, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I hope you are enjoying your day, your evening, and as always, I will see you next time.